Hi, everybody. I just realized that I mislabeled the last part three. There were actually two part threes. So this is actually part five. I have part three. I guess it's part one and part two. But this one is part five for the truth about Truman School. And we left off, and there was a picture that was put up about Lily, and it showed her whenever she was heavy, didn't feel good about herself, and it kind of started hurting her feelings, and she's afraid that the people that she thinks are her friends are going to find out that it's her. So we left off with Haley, and so we're going to start right here. Were we good or were we good? I think more people came up to congratulate us than the football players after the game, but I'm not surprised. We really were that good. As soon as I got home from the game, I uploaded that article I'd written the night before to that Truth About Truman website. I don't know why I had to be, it's going to say the one. Sorry, I had to change my location since it's hard to turn the pages and hold the camera. The one to write it. After all, I was the one who came up with the idea to start a cheerleading squad. I was the one who found our pom-poms and decided on our outfits and picked out the cheers. You'd think Lily or Brianna could have done something, but no. While I was on the site, I looked around. There were a few new bad teacher stories, so I read those. Then I checked out the new poll. It said, "Who's the biggest poser at our school?" There was a picture of a real lard butt under it. Seriously, how does a person let themselves go like that? I didn't get it. I weighed myself every single morning, and if I was up 2 pounds, I went on a diet. No bread, no cheese, no pasta. Didn't most people do that same thing? Well, people who cared about their appearance, I mean. If you didn't weigh yourself every day like I did, wouldn't you at least notice that your clothes were getting a little tight? Or when you walk by a mirror in a store or something, wouldn't you notice that, hey, you kind of look like Miss Piggy? And if you wouldn't that make you want to do something about yourself? Honestly, I didn't see how this girl could bring herself to go out in public like that. She had like bags of fat hanging off her cheeks and her chin, and she had these beady little mousy eyes and no smile. Though really, what would someone who looks like that have to smile about? And it wasn't just that she was fat and ugly and didn't know how to smile. She also had greasy hair. I'm sorry, but there's just no excuse for greasy hair. I scrolled down to see the results of the poll. Did anyone know who this was? I wondered. I just about choked. 43 people thought it was me. Brianna. Yes, for once Haley called me instead of Lily when something was on her mind. It seemed like lately she'd called Lily before she called me. Sometimes she even called Lily instead of me, like Lily was her best friend now, instead of me. It's a joke, I told Haley right away. Well, as soon as I logged on to www.truthabouttruman.com to see what she was talking about, nobody really thinks that's you. 43 people do, she whined. I didn't know what to say. I've known Haley Wood my whole entire life, and I can tell you she has never looked anything like that picture. Haley is like the prettiest girl in our school. She's got a perfect body, perfect hair, perfect skin. Seriously, she could be a model. How could anyone think that girl in the picture was Haley? 27 people think it's Lily, I pointed out. It kind of looks like Lily, don't you think? And 19 people think it's Shelby Admin. But I don't think it's Shelby. It doesn't matter who it really is, Haley said. The point is, 43 people think that it's me. Somebody probably just voted for you because they thought it would be funny, and then everybody else did it too. It was the only explanation I could come up with. But it's not funny, Haley protested. 43 people at our school think I'm fat. 43 people think I'm a poser. Come on, I said, you're not fat, and you're definitely not a poser. Everyone knows that girl isn't you. That's like so ridiculous it's funny, even though we just established that it's not funny. I waited, but Haley didn't say anything. Was she buying it? Was I helping at all? I really, really wanted to help. I have to go, she said suddenly. Wait, why? What are you going to do? I'm going to call Lily. Lily. It had to be Zebby Bauer who put that picture of me up on that site, Zebby or Ammer. And they probably did it because they're still mad that I decided to stop being friends with them in 6th grade. Some people will hold a grudge forever. I could probably just tell the whole school the truth about Truman with Zebby and Ammer's website. And everyone would stop reading it because who cared what they had to say about anything? But people would wonder how I knew it was their site. I didn't want to have to explain that I used to be friends with them. What would people think? Besides, even if everyone stopped going on that site, that awful picture was still out there. And I couldn't pretend it wasn't me. Everyone who went to Hoover knew it was me. What was I going to do? My cell phone rang while I was trying to figure out what to do. It was Haley. Did you know there's a picture of some lard butt up on that Truth About Truman website? Haley practically yelled at me. My throat started to close. I couldn't speak. Did Haley know the lard butt was me? It's part of a poll, Haley went on. You're supposed to guess who you think it is. Her voice sounded all tight and pinched. Of course she knew it was me. By now the whole school probably knew it was me. What could I possibly say to Haley? She was really, really upset. I could hear it in her voice. Lily, she cried, 43 people think that girl is me. Wait, what? You're kidding, I said. It didn't sound like she was kidding. I went to the computer and turned it on. Come on, I thought as I waited for it to boot up. Hurry up. When I finally got on that site, I couldn't believe my eyes. Haley was right. 43 people thought the girl in that picture was her. And only 27 people thought it was me. Haley wasn't upset that I used to be fat. She was upset because people thought she used to be fat. That picture was 3 years old. Was it possible people had forgotten I used to look like that? If so, there was still time to salvage this. All I had to do was get that picture removed from that website, which meant I was going to have to talk to Zebby and Ammer. I hadn't spoken to either one of them in close to 3 years, but I was pretty sure they were the ones who put that picture up. I was even more certain they were the ones who ran that website. So what choice did I have? As soon as I got off the phone with Haley, I wrote Zebby an email. Anonymous. What? 43 people thought the girl in the picture was the most popular girl in school? Were these people blind and stupid or just stupid? I need to set the record straight. Zebby. I just got an email from Lily. I instant messaged Amber on Saturday. Did you get one too? No, what does it say? I picked up the phone and called Amber so I could read it to him. It says, I know you and Amber are the people who started the truthabouttruman.com, but I bet no one else does. I also know that you guys are the ones who put that picture of me up on your site. I want you to take it down. If you take it down before anyone guesses it's me, then I won't tell anyone that it's you guys doing that site. Can you believe that? Just you guys. Like we're nobodies or something. We are nobodies, Amber pointed out. Yeah, well, I paced back and forth in my room. She didn't need to say so. It just reminded me we weren't all friends anymore. Sometimes it was hard to believe we ever were. Did she say anything else? Amber asked. No, that was it. Wasn't that enough? Are you going to write back? Yes, but I'm still figuring out what I'm going to say. So far, I was thinking something along the lines of, first of all, we don't care that you know it's us. Second of all, what makes you so sure we're the ones who posted that picture of you? Anybody who went to Hoover could have taken it out of our 5th grade memory book. I'm sure we're not the only people you've ticked off. And third of all, we're not taking it down. Where do you get off talking to us like that? You're no better than we are. In fact, it probably doesn't matter what you say, Amber said all of a sudden. I could hear him typing in the background. It looks like we're too late. What do you mean we're too late? Go to the site. I sat back down at my desk, cradling the phone between my shoulder and my ear. I typed in www.truthabouttruman.com. It was kind of slow loading this time. Was that because there were a lot of people trying to load it right now? When the page finally came up, I clicked on the Who's the Biggest Poser in Our School link. If I thought the main page was slow to load, this page was even slower. It's loading slow for you too? I asked Amber. Yeah, you'll see why in a minute. Finally, Lily's picture came up, but it looked different. Someone had gone in and edited it. They made her eyes bigger and drew horns on her head, a mustache under her nose, a beard on her chin, and 2 big teeth hanging down from her closed mouth. There was a box with an arrow pointing to the teeth that said, click here. So I did, and a little speech bubble popped out of Lily's mouth. It said, "Oink, oink, I'm Lily Clark." Trevor. Since the people at The Truth About Truman said they liked my story about Nero, I decided to go ahead and post the first segment of my comic, 6 frames, on the site. A lot happens in those first 6 frames. Nero goes from math nerd to superhero, and then he's warned to use his powers for good and not evil. That seemed like a good place to break, because if people thought it was stupid, I wouldn't ever have to post anything else. But I could post more of it if people liked it. So I uploaded the comic to The Truth About Truman that weekend. I tried not to check the site too often for comments, but it was hard not to. I really wanted to know what people thought. I was actually thinking about entering the full comic book in the Galaxy Publishers Teen Comic Book Writers Contest, if I could get it done on time, and if people who saw it on The Truth About Truman liked it. If nobody liked it, well, then maybe I wouldn't bother. So far, no one was saying anything. Why weren't they saying anything? There sure were a lot of comments about that old picture of Lily Clark, though. Every time I checked the site that weekend, there were at least 2 new comments about how fat Lily used to be, or what an improvement the horns and mustache were, or how shocked someone was to find out that it was Lily. Now let's skip the page. I knew Lily when she used to look like that. We weren't friends, but we went to the same elementary school. I remember when we were in the 4th grade, Justin Sawyer was making fun of my sponge painting and art. Lily told him to stop, but he wouldn't, so she accidentally spilled the black paint in his lap. She was a whole different person now, always trying to impress the popular kids. The worst thing was, last year when she told me I was so ugly that my mom would probably keel over and die of embarrassment for giving birth to me, which wouldn't have been such a big deal if my mom didn't really keel over and die 2 days after that. I know it was just a coincidence. Lily didn't make it happen or anything. My mom had a blood clot in her brain and she died, just like that. Lily went out of her way to avoid me the whole rest of the year. We had 2 classes together, science and language arts, but somehow she managed to get her schedule changed in the middle of the trimester so we weren't in those classes together anymore. And now, anytime she sees me in the hall, she says to her friends, "Oh, there's Trevor. Ew, he stinks. Let's go this way." And then they all turn around and walk the other way. The thing is, people like Lily and Reese and the other popular kids could choose to use their powers for good, like Nero. Everyone listens to them, so they could just say, "Hey, we're not going to pick on people anymore," and the whole school would follow their lead. But they don't do that. Instead, they use their powers for evil. Lily. I don't know if I was just paranoid or what, but I sort of got the impression my friends were avoiding me after that picture went up. First, Haley's mom called my mom and asked if I could get to school on my own on Monday because Haley had to go in early to work on a science project. Maybe she really did have to work on a science project, but why didn't she mention it earlier? And what about Brianna? She and I were in the same science class, so I knew she didn't have any special science project. She and I could have made carpool arrangements, but I didn't call her and she didn't call me, and I ended up getting a ride to school from my mom instead of Haley's mom. Then, when I got to school, there wasn't anybody waiting at the Rock. I knew Haley wouldn't be there, but I expected Brianna, Cassie, Kylie, and Morgan to be there. Our group always met at the Rock before school, and then we walked in together when the bell rang. But that Monday I had to walk in all by myself. The whole way to my locker, it felt like everyone was staring at me. I even saw a couple of girls from my history class whispering behind their hands when I walked past. "You know that Truth About Truman website is Zebby Bowers and Amber Nasser's," I said to the whispers. They stopped whispering and just stared blankly at me. "The girl with the blue hair and her dork friend," I said. Still no reaction, which only proved what big losers Zebby and Amber were. No one even knew who they were. "You shouldn't believe everything you see on the internet," I said. Then I walked away. When I got to my locker, I hung up my jacket and gathered all my stuff for my morning classes. Then I hurried to our bathroom, the one that Haley claimed as ours at the beginning of the year. No one was there either. Well, the door to the middle stall was closed, so obviously someone was in there. But just one person? Where was everyone else? Normally, this bathroom was hopping in the morning. Girls whose parents didn't let them wear makeup crowded in close to the mirror so they could quickly get their makeup on, while the rest of us complimented each other on our outfits and put the finishing touches on our hair. Other people traded homework or talked about who was going out with who or whatever. "Hey," I said to whoever was in the bathroom, but they didn't answer. So I went over to the mirror to check my makeup and fix my hair. The toilet flushed, and I watched in the mirror to see who came out of the stall. I gasped. It was that weird girl who never talks. Haley. Despite what everyone was saying, we did not dump Lily when we found out she used to be fat. We're not that shallow. We thought it was really amazing that she lost a ton of weight and was popular now. But I have to admit I was a little bit traumatized by the fact that people thought it was me in that picture. Can you blame me? So maybe we didn't exactly defend Lily when people started saying bad stuff about her. And maybe we kind of avoided her a little bit at first while we waited to see how people acted around her at school. But we didn't dump her. Not right away. Trevor. What can I say? People at our school suck. Mrs. Holbrook was late to social studies, so while everyone else was goofing around, I worked on my comic book, just in case I decided to enter it in that teen comic book writing contest. I already had the whole thing sketched out in pencil, 24 pages, so I was inking over the pencil marks. I wasn't paying any attention to what everyone else was doing. All of a sudden, Brianna Brinkman reached across the aisle and snatched the booklet right out from under me. "Look, everyone," she teased, holding the booklet out of my reach. "Trevor's drawing a comic book." She flipped the pages and laughed out loud. "Hey, it's like Trevor's the one who drew that comic on the truth about Truman. You know, the one about the superhero. I've got the whole thing right here." I could feel my face growing warm. "Give it back," I cried. I tried to grab my book back, but then Reese called out, "Let me see it." So Brianna tossed it over to him. Then several other kids grabbed it. "Oops," Taylor Bryson said as the cover tore off in his hand. "No, I didn't have another copy yet." I hopped over the chair in the next aisle and lunged for the book, not sure whether to go for the book or the cover. But it didn't matter since I couldn't get either one. Kids just kept laughing and passing the pages around. I did manage to grab page 7, which landed on the floor. The top corner was crumpled and it had a big dusty footprint across it. "Hey, Trevor, is this supposed to be you?" Reese sneered, holding up a page of my book. "Do you think you're a big superhero?" "Just give it back," I said, my voice cracking. This went on until Mrs. Holbrook finally came in to start class. "What's going on in here?" she demanded, hands on her hips. Everyone scrambled for their seats, leaving what was left of my comic book spread out on the floor. Sarah Murphy got up and helped me gather up the torn and crumpled pages. Most people think she's even weirder than I am, but they only think that because she has eczema and she doesn't talk. Still, she was the only one who bothered to help me gather up my book. "Thanks," I mumbled as she handed me a stack of pages, but the pages were all out of order, and I was missing the cover and half of page 3. So much for entering it in the Galaxy Publishers Contest. Okay, we'll stop there and pick back up whenever we do part 6. See you later.